Hi, my name is TJ and I'm here for iZotope at NAMM 2014 and I'm here to show BreakTweaker. It's a new product that we released on Wednesday, so it's pretty new. We're pretty excited about it. It's just on the high level, it's a beat machine, drum machine type plugin. But it goes a bit deeper than that. There's a lot of controls in here. It's something that we released with BT, and if you're familiar at all with Stutter Edit, it has a lot of that same kind of feeling and processing that you can use on drum machine type sounds. So just in the main screen here, you can see it looks like a drum machine. You have your sequence here. You can trigger different events that are going on. You can adjust gain and pan of that track. You can open up different samples if you want to. And that seems pretty familiar. What's cool about BreakTweaker is you can actually select individual triggers and adjust their micro edits. Now, if you're familiar with Stutter Edit, you know that kind of chopping sound, that dropping ball effect that BT is pretty famous for, and we wanted to make sure that that was in here as well. So right there you can see the change in the micro edit section. Now these are all individual triggers existing within that specific note block. So I can get these really cool effects of having really high resolution of re-triggering within that effect, or just have it as the original sample. And I'll play a little bit of it just so you can hear what it sounds like. So here's just the normal sample of a kick. It's a pretty clean kick. It sounds really good. If I stretch it out a little bit, just so I can hear more of the divisions, I'll increase the division amount and I'll preview. Now I get that kind of rhythmic effect that BT likes using. Now we have pitched content because we're going so fast. They're essentially turning this into a granular synthesizer, which is really awesome. Other things that are cool about that kind of control in the micro edit, you can also change the tension of this. Some really cool glitchy style effects. You get some really extreme ones too. So if you want to do a switch or a turnaround into the fourth beat or something like that, or just make glitchy kind of stuff out of your kick drum, you can, and that's just on that one track. The other awesome thing about this whole section down here is this is all unique per trigger. So each trigger can do a different micro edit, and it can have a different division type and a different slope type. There's a bunch of different division types, which I'll go into in a second, and there's a bunch of different slope types, which I'll also elaborate on in a little bit. So there's a lot of different types of shapes of curves to work with as far as the tension goes in the micro edit. So I was saying before, when we went to, we were getting towards granular synthesis, one of the things that BT likes to do, if you are familiar with Stutter Edit, is at a certain point you can lock to specific pitch values what the actual repetitions are doing. So I'm going to change this to pitch and lock this to a note, say D2 just for demonstration. I'm actually going to turn it down because it gets a little louder when we re-trigger this fast. So now I'm locking to a specific note, and that sounds very like Swedish House Mafia, you know, you're taking the kick and making it into a bass line. You can adjust any of these pitches you want to. If you want to start making a bass line out of it, you can start copying over individual triggers and adjusting the note of that one, adjusting the note of this one, until you get a really cool bass line, if you so choose. Also, in that micro edit section, there's also a fade in, fade out section where you can sweep into that trigger or sweep out of it. There's also individual distortions per trigger. So it's a digital and a raw and an aliasing distortion. If you're familiar with Trash 2, our distortion plugin, a lot of those distortion algorithms that are taken from Trash and they're put into BreakTweaker. We also offer a chorus option and a low pass filter and a high pass filter. And again, that's per individual trigger. So if you just have a bass sound that you want to do all different low pass amounts on each individual trigger separately, you can do that. And that's just a high level of what this initial interface is. It goes a lot deeper when we start looking into the individual lanes and adjusting what we're actually working with as far as sample content goes. Now immediately you can see this whole section here with 3 generator types right here, and that's 3 generator sections per lane. And then within the generator type I can select either a synth or a sample. So you can load in a sample that's pre-made. BreakTweaker comes a ton of preset content, a ton of samples, over 600 megabytes is the total installer, and that's pretty much all one-shots, and so that's I think a couple thousand samples actually, which is actually pretty awesome. They're all really good sounding. We worked with Beatport, BT, Richard Devine, Seamless, AU5, and a bunch of other sound designers to get some really awesome, big sounding content. Me as an electronic music producer, I'll spend way too much time working on building a sample when I can now just go into a BreakTweaker, say select dubstep, select kick, select heavy, I'll play it back. Now this really thick kick, just right away, I can just get working with it and make some cool beats out of it. If I go to the snares, just to demonstrate a few of them, I really like all these AU5 snare big dub ones. It's a really really nice snare. It's really big, it's really fat, and all the sample content is all different variations of these types of snares. And so you have these like really well-made, well-layered snares that you can work with. If you wanted to, you can do that, or you can go and make your own essentially using the synth option. And this is good for making kick drums, making any sort of fundamental sounds, or making bass sounds even. I like making, if you're into like bass music or dubstep, stuff like that, you can use this as a way to make really interesting, cool, glitch hop type bass sounds. Because we have 2 different oscillators here that can either work in ring modulation, amplitude modulation, or FM synthesis essentially, which is really quite awesome. But before I go too far into that, I just want to note that the core for this synth here is the fact that it's a wavetable synth. So that already is a lot of different synthesis types all in one little panel. So it's actually pretty powerful as far as the synth goes. And just to demonstrate what I mean by wavetable is, in this wave form here, I have a table of all these different wave shapes, and I can cycle through those if I want to. I can automate that. Right now I'm going to go into my LFO, and I'm going to set a range where I'm going to sweep with the LFO that's over there. I'm just going to drop this down so it sounds a little nicer. But my LFO over here is going to control where I'm going in this wavetable. So when I play it back, I'm actually going to turn down some of the distortion that's on it already, just to make sure it's a clean sound. So you sweep through wavetables, and it can get really cool sounds out of that. And that's just one wavetable, that's just the basic standard. You can go in through our categories here and select different wavetables that all have different sets of waveforms within that table you can sweep through. So that already is pretty powerful. I'm a big fan of the wavetables myself. So we can go a little bit deeper than that even too. I'm actually going to start a new patch from scratch so I can show you some of the sound design possibilities with the synthesizer itself. So I'm going to make one long note, and just for reference, that's going to be the one note for that lane that I'm working in, so you can see the context of the rhythm that you're working with. So in here, I'm going to select the synth, and I'm going to just take a simple kind of triangle wave. I'm going to use an LFO, and I'm going to stretch it out a little bit, and so it'll turn into kind of a squarey kind of wave. So when I play it back, make it a bass sound. And now what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go back to the micro edits that we were doing before. I'm going to play around with the pitch option, which is going to lock this sample to a specific pitch. And say I want to set it to B1. What this is now going to do is no matter what pitch this is playing in, it's going to be locked by granular synthesis to the B1 note here. So by changing what the pitch is and what the waveform is here, I'm going to get a lot of really interesting sidebands out of it to get really cool kind of vocal formant sounds, or really interesting sounds that I haven't been able to make all that easily just doing them in my own production. So I'm excited about this personally. Just to preview what that's going to sound like. So that's just using the wavetable. But if I move the chorus pitch while I'm doing this, I'm going to actually set the LFO so I can do it automatically. I'm going to set the range over here because I know this is going to sound the way I want it to. There's really cool, unique, kind of EDM style bass sound that you can use and work with in your track, which you would be having just sequenced right here in your track. So if you wanted to maybe set your bass sound there, then load in your kicks and snare samples, you can start making your beat really quickly and make a really cool track out of it. The other thing I will say, as a production tool, we do have multi-outs over here to go through aux 1 through 6 for each one of these lanes. So if you want to send your kick to a different track in your DAW, you can do that. If you want to send your synth to another track and sidechain it too so they pump, if you want to EQ them separately so you have a better mix, you can do that really easily in your DAW. I guess the only other thing that I think I forgot to mention is the ability to do ISO rhythms within BreakTweaker, which is pretty unique. Being able to change the length of lanes. So say I wanted to make a rhythm that only cycles at 3 beats and this one cycles at 4 beats, they'll kind of overlap and play back at different cycles. So I'll kind of finish with going into other preset content to kind of hear other stuff that is going on in BreakTweaker. You can see in some of this content, some of the lanes are shorter than others, depending on what the pattern is, and I'll just play a few so you can hear what's going on. So that's really cool, awesome content. This one is actually made by Richard Devine, and you can see he's got all sorts of micro edits going on in here. Each one of these triggers that has a little micron symbol will indicate that there's a micro edit going on in that specific sample. So that's pretty awesome. That's pretty much BreakTweaker. It came out on Wednesday. We announced it on Thursday. It's available right now through our website, iZotope.com. It's $199 until February 19th, and then after that, I'll turn to $249. And again, just iZotope.com. It's a 10-day free trial. If you want to download it right now, you can download it and play around with it and have fun with it.